So the Patriots for a 17th straight year have 10 wins, and joining us from the field at Gillette Stadium is Jeff Howe. Wait a minute, he's not on the field. Jeff, what, a little rain keeping you inside today? Those guys played outside in that rain for 4 hours. What are you doing in the bowels of the stadium?
I'm just trying to keep the hair good, you know. I got a big story to write, so I got to keep myself clean. I don't want the computer to fry up on me. It's a total work hazard.
Excuses, excuses. One guy who's not making any excuses, Stephon Gilmore. What an incredible effort from him today. You pointed out immediately through a tweet the second straight game that he shut out his guy.
Yeah, he's on an unbelievable roll right now. He hasn't allowed a catch since they lost down in Baltimore. The Amari Cooper assignment was as tough as any that he's seen this season. And to shut him out, and not just to shut him out, it seemed like Amari Cooper kind of checked out a little early too, which is something that you really don't see out of that former first-round pick out of Alabama. A guy who's a franchise #1 type of receiver, and Stephon Gilmore completely dominated him. Stealing that interception early in the game kind of set the tone for the Patriots defense. He actually peeled off Cooper for another pass breakup in the end zone that he nearly intercepted in front of Jason Witten later in the game. But to have a shutout is really, really rare. I mean, he's had 3 incredible seasons. This is only the 5th shutout that he's had over that span as a Patriot. So to go back-to-back is even better. It's his 3rd one of the season. His previous 2 seasons, he only had 1. So that just shows you, it puts it in context, the type of football that he's playing. He's clearly the best cornerback in football. And then he's going to get an even better assignment next week, DeAndre Hopkins, and then Tyreek Hill after that. So it's only going to get harder, but he's playing the best football of his Patriots career at the moment.
So you put him on an island, you let him do what he has to do against Amari Cooper, but the rest of the defense holds the #1 offense in the National Football League to 9 points and no touchdowns. In your mind, what was the biggest key to being able to neutralize the Cowboys today?
Well, it was interesting because they got a little pressure on Dak Prescott, but they didn't get the type of pass rush on Prescott that they've gotten for a large chunk of the season. I mean, they're continuously around 20 to 22, 24 disruptions per game. I'm interested to see what the number's going to look like tomorrow when I rewatch it, but there wasn't a ton of pressure. It was just great coverage. So you got a lot of disruption really on the back end, out of the camera view. And they did it without their #2 cornerback, Jason McCourty, who was a late addition to the injury report and couldn't play due to a groin injury, the first time he's missed a game as a Patriot. But John Jones played tremendous against Cobb in the slot. J.C. Jackson, Juwan Williams for a short stint, filled in for Jason McCourty. And then obviously you're continuing to get great safety play. Early in the game when Gilmore was kind of making his mark, you saw a lot out of Jamie Collins, too. I think he had 10 tackles. He had a forced fumble. He was all over the place early in the game. So they were able to set the tone physically up front, but they weren't generating a ton of pass rush. But again, it comes down to covering all those guys. And Gilmore was great, but he had some company.
Yeah, I think the weather and the conditions will neutralize the talk about the struggling offense because there's some built-in natural excuses with as bad as it was from Mother Nature, but also the fact that you're missing Dorsett and Sanu. But your analysis of how they persevered, listen, when you're dealt a hand like that, you got to figure it out. And if nothing else, this team always seems to figure it out.
Yeah, and you look at Brady's numbers, and I tracked Brady the entire game. So he only completed, I think it was 45.9% of his passes in this game. He entered this season having 3 career victories of a sub-47 completion percentage. He's now done it twice this season alone. But I think in this Cowboys game, this is a situation where the numbers are going to be a little skewed because you talked about the 2 guys that they were missing, Dorsett and Sanu. First 4 dropbacks of the game, he was hit on 3 of them. So there was some shaky offensive line play early. He had 4 drops and 2 throwaways. So you kind of throw those 6 incompletions out of the equation because those balls, quite frankly, just didn't really count. I mean, 4 that hit a guy in the hand and then 2 that he had to throw away because of the pressure. And then you kind of spin it forward. I mean, he had some great throws to Jacoby Myers, to Julian Edelman. I mean, that strike, I know it was a scoreless drive, but that strike to Edelman on 3rd and 20 right at the sticks kind of stabilized the offense when they were struggling or sputtering a little bit there in the second half. So you take those out. There were 4 balls that I thought that Brady really just kind of missed on. You had that one up the seam to Ben Watson. If that's a perfect ball, that might go for a touchdown. It maybe ends the game a little earlier. So again, kind of trying to track all these numbers, and you look at the sub-50 completion percentage, really, I think there were only 4 bad throws. The rest was just well-covered guys where you had to force it into tight coverage, or you had some quick pressure and you had to dump it away, or you had the 4 drops.
All right, last topic I want to hop into is just generally Tom Brady and his attitude and his demeanor, because we talked about it incessantly after he left the dais last week in Philadelphia. I think on the field, we saw, anyone watching the game saw that there were issues. You know, Jacoby Myers had a completion and he clearly ran the wrong route, my bad. So he sort of took responsibility for that. But he also dropped the ball on the sideline. What we didn't see was Tom Brady explode on him, at least publicly. Did you note that too? I think he's reeling it in a little bit in that regard.
Yeah, I actually talked to Jacoby Myers after the game about just the way that Brady helped those guys get ready this week. Jacoby said that Brady was always with those young receivers, trying to do as much as he could to make sure that they were ready. I think really the only time you saw Brady kind of blow his top a little bit was on a comeback route that he missed James White on, and I think he probably wanted James White to angle that route a little sharper. Maybe that would have made it an easier completion, or obviously the ball fell to the turf, but he kind of got on the veterans, but he let the rookies slide a little bit. But then you look at, again, some of the best throws of the night. You got that back shoulder throw to N'Keal Harry, something that we saw routinely in practice in the spring and summer, and something that we're going to continue to see pop up time and again, because that's his wheelhouse right there. And then Jacoby Myers, he had some really good over routes, some crossing patterns for some big gains. And that was just enough that they needed to help out Julian Edelman, who's clearly battling through a tough shoulder and rib injury. And, again, the surprising thing I thought was they couldn't really get James White or Rex Burkhead involved much in the passing game. They didn't throw a screen pass until early in the fourth quarter. So they relied on those rookies. But like you said, Brady didn't really beat them up for any of the mistakes that they made.
Good stuff, Jeff. As always, great insight. You can read more from Jeff Howe at The Athletic of Boston. He's our Patriots insider. I'm glad we could keep your hair intact for this segment.
Thank you.